Chukudi is seated here in the studio. Good morning, Chuks.
Morning, how are you doing?
Oh, he's arrived.
Good to see you.
Good morning, Chukudi.
Are you still doubting whether I'm here?
Maybe he can't see you.
Am I that dottish?
You look
like
radiant. You look radiant, and it's getting in my,
It's a beautiful morning.
Good morning, Victor.
Good morning.
How are you?
We have some papers this morning, Chukudi, to go through, and let's begin with the leadership newspaper. Let's get the leadership newspaper, and just above the masthead, error bombing, live returns to Tudumbiri. Find details on page 6. Tinubu won't take sides in Rivers crisis. That's coming from the presidency. Find all the details on page 25. FG raising tax exemption threshold above 25 million naira turnover. Coming from Oye Daily. With riders, new policy targets 95% of informal sector. Find the details on page 2. Mega Party, ADC, LP, SDP, PRP, NNPP leaders meet on Thursday. Want to know what they're going to talk about? You find the details on page 25. Despite 10.01 billion naira budget, Presidency, Army, 33 MDAs still owe electricity bills. With riders, situation increasing debt stock, fiscal deficit. Electricity payment ranks as first line change. And labor pickets NAC discourse over tariff hike today. Find the details on page 4. And at the side piece of the picture story, Hajj 2024, airlift of pilgrims begins Wednesday. Details on page 6. Security agents rescue 31 students, passengers in Kogi, Kaduna. Details on page 7. Streetlight contractors blame AEDC for dark FCT streets. There's the blame game happening there. Details on page 20. Flight operations begin on Lagos-Kano rail line June. Details on page 21. On the picture story you see there, Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, the Duke, Prince Harry, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his wife, Dr. Ebijoke Sanwo-Olu, during a course visit by the Duke to the Lagos House Marina yesterday. Let me quickly go to the Nation newspaper, and we begin above the masthead. Cybersecurity levy, why implementation can't take off. You want to know why? Go to page 3. Commissioners battle chairman at Federal Character Commission. Details on page 2. Nigerian complex but easy to govern, says Obasanjo, former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Details on page 3. Pressure mounts on debtors to pay 450 billion naira federal government loans. Details on page 4. And below the masthead, experts suggest options as inflation crosses 35%. With rider, security, food, higher crude oil output, others should get government priority. Find all the details on page 4. Kwara, Akwa Ibom, Yobe, Borno, others most backward in pension remittance. You find the details on page 21. And the headlines in the Nation newspaper, EFCC to join forces with UK prosecutors in Desani's case. With riders, anti-graft agency seeks access to ex-minister's assets orders. Find the details on page 2. Rivers government lawmakers flex muzzles over assembly quarters. Elder caution government integrity test to be done. That's about what we have in the Nation newspaper. Victor.
All right, and on to the Guardian, which leads with the headline and a picture story. Energy prices soar by 70%. Cost manufacturers 290 billion naira in Q1. That story is on page 6. And then you have the picture there telling the story of Q4 2023 versus Q1 2024. Serap Abakoba CSOs head to court as FG quietly withdraws cybersecurity levy. That story is on page 6. Labour to paralyze power sector over tariff hike. You find that on page 3. Withdraw death penalty for drug offences. ASF France tells Senate. That's Lawyers Without Borders. That story is on page 5. Rivers elders caution Fubara against tampering with assembly quarters. For details, go to page 8. Troops bust terrorists' hideouts in Taraba. Seize arms, ammunition. That one is on page 9. And finally, again, gunmen kill 3 policemen. Road safety official in Enugu. You get that on page 12. Chukode.
Let me start with the positive side to that. And I'm saying kudos to the DSS and hunters in Kogi State for helping to rescue students of Confluence University of Science and Technology who were abducted by armed
Some of
men.
them.
Some of them.
14.
Yes. Actually, what happened was that, from what we read, that is, when they confronted the armed men, some of the students had to run away. It is not
able to escape.
They were able to escape, and then some who ran away from the scene of firing and all that are likely to be to rejoin their colleagues later.
I like the swift action taken by
exactly. We have to commend them.
Yeah,
you see,
swift action.
I told you guys, I was a hunter in the village. I like the mention of the role of hunters.
Jack of all trades.
Beside the DSS. Yeah, there was a night I shot 2 wild pigs. I'm not making it up. Good. I like when I hear hunters' names. But then we must commend the DSS. Hunters will not be very bold when men who are officially uniformed to perform that role are not around. So let's not give it only to hunters. Then, of course, Governor Adodo is also being praised for supporting.
Yeah, supporting.
The IG may be the one in charge of the police, but in terms of facilitating police work, governors in the 36 states of the Federation,
yeah, the security officers of
the minister and FCT,
yes.
they are very important in getting the job done. So I thought we should mention that as a positive side because of what you read there.
That's what we'll be talking about in the discussion segment.
Oh, lovely. Some things are not a coincidence. Yeah. They are saying that inflation is crossing 34 or 35%. I have 34 here. Yeah. You read 35 or so?
Yeah, 34.
Okay, very good. 34 is quite high.
It is.
Because what it means is that you have a little money chasing very high prices there at the marketplace. I was listening to the Argentinian president talking to the BBC reporter. Quite interesting interview on BBC World. And he's an economist. And he was talking economics. And he said, what we are doing in Argentina is to make sure that salaries outpace prices out there.
Yes.
I know Victor is going to smile because minimum wage is being discussed in Nigeria. But at the end of the day, we need to say be cautious even in adding to workers' salaries. Because at a point, too much money pursuing too few goods will lead to further inflation. So a lot of tinkering has to be done by those who understand the economics. Very important. I don't know why Rivers people are still embroiled in this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw the president's aide, during Gilani on TV, I think 2 or 3 days ago, making it ascertain that the president would never take sides with anybody in River State.
Yes.
Of course, he's stating the obvious. The president has his constitutional roles. What he did by calling Fubara and the FCT minister and their supporters was an elderly statesman's attitude to not watching its soul fester. If the Rivers people are not listening to what the president told them, I dare say that they're stashing up more trouble for themselves, in the days ahead. Look, it's an ill wind that blows no one any good. They have to count their teeth with their tongue.
Even
It's very
elder
important.
statesman said that they should tread carefully on this political issue.
They have to. Where it is
Edwin
leading,
Clark, yeah, he said it.
where it is leading, I'm not a prophet, but where this is leading, if anybody thinks they are going to emerge victorious and all that,
At the end of the day,
smile.
you find a government who will not be able to do anything because you haven't had time to
Because
focus.
they are distracted.
They are just-
Rivers people are the ones suffering the ultimate, paying the ultimate price for all these unnecessary, things happening. They are preventable.
But how
And I
difficult
dare
is it to just allow the governor to do his job?
Do his job.
Well, that would amount to taking sides.
No. I mean,
Nigerian politics.
If you are
Yes.
elected, what I'm saying is, if you are elected, I said, allow the man do his job. I'm not saying
Unless-
anybody.
I agree.
particularly.
Ultimately,
Isn't that what it should
ultimately,
be?
without, I'm blindfolding
Unless
my.
and when we take away godfatherism
Isn't
from
that what it should
Nigerian
be?
politics,
Bless
that
you.
is the only way
I want
governors
to
will be able
put
to.
I want to put the blindfold on me like the person when you see the scale of justice and say what I want to say. Ultimately, the governor must be allowed to govern the state.
Yes,
It's as simple as that.
It's
If
as
that
simple as that.
happens, and then,
Not
then
be
you can
held,
walk.
We have to talk like
yes.
journalists, okay?
Yeah.
But the problem is this. The process of acquiring office in Nigeria is itself suspect.
Yes.
You do not allow people to bankroll your whatever, and you think that when you get into office...
Well, we don't know about that.
We don't know about
We don't know
that,
about
but
that.
it is actually at the bottom of everything. So the process of people coming to office in Nigeria needs to be questioned, needs to be investigated, needs to be pried into, so that you don't get to see all these things. Godfatherism, you said, is the bane of Nigerian politics.
Yes, it is.
That's it. So we have to do what we can to, it's very important.
And then the death penalty for drug offenses. Lawyers Without
Yeah,
Borders
we
are
read
saying-
that on Friday. It's of drug offenses. It doesn't actually the death sentence does not get to the consumer. It is to the traffickers, the manufacturers.
Yeah,
Very
and
important
then
we point that
15
out.
years for
The
users.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Death sentence is being phased out in most of the world. I don't know whether I'm interested in a man being sent to the guillotine or having the noose dropped around his neck and all that. But that's a personal matter. The law is the law. If
And
it
that's
becomes law,
because it's become, rampant in recent times.
I
It's become
agree.
Too much.
It has eaten
Every
deep
week,
into the
every
very
week.
fiber of the nation.
I agree, but remember
Yes.
that after the military regime of president, not president, I should
Head
be
of
talking,
state,
head of state then,
Buhari.
Buhari
Yes.
then, after shooting Ogedengbe and the rest, did anything, did it
Nothing
abate?
stopped.
It didn't quite stop.
Well, that's
It didn't
because you
quite.
didn't go further with it.
It's okay.
It wasn't sustained.
Whatever works should be upheld in this country. Quickly, ladies and gentlemen, cybersecurity levy, it seems the presidency is asking the CBN to suspend it for now.
Better.
And the president feels that the weight Nigerians are bearing is already on the
too
high
much.
side.
It's on the
Let's remember that CBN is only going to be in a facilitating role. The office that actually implements it is that of the NSA. That's what the act says. But whatever it is, I think if the government can manage, let them not make too heavy.
Let
the burden.
Nigerians
Part-time.
breathe.
Exactly.
Let Nigerians breathe.
That's it.
That's
They gave me
that's
the
it,
tomato they gave me 2 days ago for 2004. I nearly picked one of them to stone the seller.
No, please don't. But maybe when you leave the studio, you could do that. Leave me some tomatoes.
You don't
That's,
want-
Yes,
don't want
I
it.
was,
we
I was
wish you a great
Don't want
day.
a madman in the studio.
a
What
ki-
if I
a ki-
become one?
Yes, a kilo of meat is now 6,500 naira.
Don't break my heart more.
6,500
Kick me
naira.
out. It's time for Chukudi to leave the studio.
Time to go, Chukudi.
Let's
Thank you so
pamper
much.
you
Let's spike
Enjoy
you
the
out.
rest of your day.
And
Yes.
you too. Bless you.
We'll take a break. When we return, our conversation will begin. Don't go away.